needs therapy, eh? Save yourself £60 a week.
Yeah, just write a bloody book about yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Soph, these are my notes. And almost exactly 11 months ago to this very day in my 10,000 subscribers Q&A video, when asked who some of my role models were, I said, someone called Anna Ploszajski. Fast forward to now and I'm super excited because I've got Anna on my channel for a chat, yes. Heads up, there's an extended version of said chat over on Nebula, the details are in the description. Anna, in her own words, is...
I'm a material scientist, writer and storyteller based in London.
That was far too humble, so I'm gonna add that she's also a trumpet player, a channel swimmer, a stand-up comedian. She's worked for NASA, she was part of a team trying to break a land speed record. She is a total polymath, renaissance woman, whatever you want to say. And now...
I've just written my book called Handmade, A Scientist's Search for Meaning Through Making. It's going to confuse the viewers now because we have two different versions of it.
Yeah, what I have is the uncorrected proof, whereas what Anna has in that clip there is the proper legit final version. As you can see, I've been taking my copy everywhere with me because it is covered in dirt. I would say that soil coverage is like proportional to how much I've enjoyed reading something, so this is great. We'll discuss the book in a bit more detail later on, but to summarise, Handmade is basically about all the materials that we interact with every day. In it, Anna realises that certain aspects of her life have been defined by different materials, from glass shaping her scientific career, to throwing clay supporting her through a really difficult time in her life, to the words held on paper helping her recognise her own sexuality through other people's expressions of their own. The book kind of follows and recognises her journey from seeing materials from a purely scientific viewpoint to then realising how those scientific features make a material what it is that lead to these inanimate objects having really personal connections with us. How could she have swum the channel without the chemical structures of sugar powering her through? She also has a go at making stuff out of each material, combining said scientific properties with kind of the intrinsic personality of each, and also a little dash of her own creativity in there as well. Reading this book gave me almost like a materials mindfulness. Like, as I was going about my life, when I wasn't reading it, I was really paying attention to the things I was walking past or looking at. Why is this material the way it is? How does it make me feel? Why does it make me feel that way? That's kind of where my first challenge that Anna gave me came in, because we didn't just have a conversation, she kind of gave me different challenges. And the first one tied into this new way that I was seeing the world. I'm a bit nervous, I don't know why. But go on, what do you want me to do, Anna? Tell me.
Right, this is a materials treasure hunt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say certain words to you, and I would like you to take us on a little trip around your flat and try and find an object that sort of represents that word, or kind of is associated with that word.
Okay.
So your first word is hard.
Hard, okay. Should be a simple one. I'm suddenly overwhelmed looking around at everything and what it all means. Okay, hard. Okay, let me have a think of something interesting. Okay, I'm gonna disappear, but I'll be back.
Perfect.
All right, you're coming with me, so let's find something hard.
Sorry, I didn't think about the logistics of this game.
I know. Recently bought a new object that matches this perfectly. Mission successful.
Oh, she's back.
I'm not going to show you what it is yet. Alright, so I've got my item that is hard. It's something that has to be hard because it's interacting with other materials.
Yeah.
It is a knife.
Very nice.
A huge one as well. It's a bit intense, isn't it?
That is quite intense. That's amazing. Okay, what do you think your knife is made out of?
Steel. German steel.
Oh.
It's from classic series 1.4116 German steel.
If I knew my materials undergraduate lecture notes better than I currently do, I would probably be able to tell you what kind of alloy that was. But it's probably, because it's in the kitchen, it's probably going to be some kind of stainless steel, which means that it's probably got bits of titanium and nickel in it.
But stainless, does it mean like literally does not stain?
Yeah, exactly. So stainless steel is kind of amazing because the atoms inside it that are as in addition to the steel atoms, which are iron and carbon, they form this like layer of, it's basically rust actually on the top. It's like titanium dioxide. But what it does is it protects the steel underneath from rusting. So it's a bit like painting the steel with like a layer of a layer of paint that will mean it doesn't rust, but it's inherent to the material itself. And the really clever thing about it is that if it gets scratched, if this outer layer, protective layer, gets scratched, then the steel underneath just reacts with the oxygen in the air to reform and reheal that layer.
That's clever.
Very, very clever. But there are lots of other materials in your kitchen that would be harder than that would definitely kind of blunt the knife. And that's because the atoms, like at the very edge of that steel knife, are gradually getting kind of more and more jumbled up as they impact with various sort of items in your kitchen.
Right, yeah, so basically the blunting of the knife is the jumbling of the atoms on the sharp edge of the knife. Oh, very cool. So then when you have a knife sharpener, does that straighten out the atoms, or does it scrape off jumbled atoms? How does it work?
Yeah, it kind of just like scrapes them off, exactly. So it'll just realign them all into a nice sharp edge.
Very cool. I think I'm going to hold this just more often. It makes me feel quite powerful. All right, go on then. What's
Brilliant.
next?
Okay, the next word is extruded.
Extruded.
This is a hard one.
Okay, so extruded, I think, is when something is like squeezed through like a hole, like a thin hole.
Exactly.
Oh, here we go. You're coming with me. Okay, so I need something that's been pushed through a thin hole to make something long and thin. And I have an idea. Could you help me get this out?
What one?
Just a single spaghetti. What is the singular of spaghetti? Spaghettum or spaghetto.
A spaghetto.
Yes, this is it, spaghetto. So does this count?
Brilliant. Yeah, that definitely counts. I mean, I assume that's how they make spaghetti, is by like squeezing it through a series of holes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm
There
sure
we go.
that'd be it. Oh, good one. Okay, are you up for one more?
Yeah, oh my god, of course. This is like the most fun I've had in a very long time. Go on.
All right, so the last one is disgust.
Disgust. Oh. I'm looking around my flat and I don't know if I want to show anything that I think is disgust. Disgust. Okay. I'm going to go. Can you think of anything? Are you in a meeting? Can you think of anything that makes you think of the word disgust? I don't know if I want to show the public my toilet brush. Disgust is a really strong word, isn't it? Could be a bit like, ugh. Thanks for your help. My partner despises this, so I wear contact lenses. And sometimes if I go to bed and I realise that I've gone to bed without taking them out, do you know this as well? I leave them on the side.
Okay.
And obviously a contact lens is quite wet, and then if it's left on the side it dries out and they form these little crispy like that camera there, like these little crispy bits of just plastic, and I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but my partner, she'll just like put her foot on the floor and like she'll hear the crunch, she'll be like, oh my god, like they get everywhere. And honestly, try as I might, they just always find their way. Like, I don't know, I normally put them in the bin.
That's brilliant.
This is a really cool material though, because I have like astigmatism, so I've got a slight rugby ball shaped eye. So my contact lenses have a little OK written on them, which to show me which way to put them in. And so when they're dried out, I'll have to try and take a picture of them, but when they're dried out you can see like the little word OK and the little lines to show how to put them in.
Sweet.
It's really, really cool.
That's cool.
Really cool.
So yeah, contact lenses are kind of amazing. Like they are, I think they're a hydrogel. So it's like a lot of them is water. So as you say, when you leave them out, the water evaporates. And so you just end up with like the polymer side of it that's still in there.
What is something that you find disgusting then?
I don't find many things that disgusting. Like I don't mind human hair, especially. Actually, the place that I do mind human hair is if I'm in like a municipal swimming baths or something and I'm like going for a swim and I turn my head to breathe and somebody's long piece of hair is like this across my mouth. That I find disgusting. But it's a very specific like setting and event for this experience to happen. But because sometimes like a long piece of hair will get like wrapped around your goggles and then every time you breathe
it's like flapping into your mouth like, oh my god, that's awful. Feel free to comment below what materials or things you find disgusting, because I found that really hard. I think maybe I have quite a high threshold for disgust, although saying that it did take me a minute to recover from the gross hair anecdote, but once I did, we decided to chat a bit more about the book. Now I've already described how it affected me in my kind of summary of it, but here's a summary of the book in Anna's Anna's own words?
I'm a material scientist, so I've trained in material science. And 4 years ago, I kind of had this crushing realisation that although I knew about sort of the theories of materials and the formulae and how they all worked on paper, and I could draw you some beautiful graphs and do loads of maths about it, I didn't know anything really about how you would forge a poker of steel in a blacksmith's workshop, or how you would throw a pot on a potter's wheel. I really didn't know anything at all about the kind of hands-on nature of materials. And so I realised that there was this whole other sort of body of expertise in the makers and the craftspeople and the artists who actually do know about this stuff from a hands-on perspective, and they can, make amazing objects with these materials. And so this book is really the story of my journey to rediscovering materials after my understanding came crashing down around me. And I go and meet artists and craftspeople. I have a go at what they do and how they make. So I have a go at blacksmithing and pottery and stonemasonry and glass blowing. And meet the people behind all of these amazing processes that can transform materials. And as well as that, as I was writing the book, I kind of noticed how all these materials were intersecting with my own life and elements of my identity. So it ended up being a bit of an autobiography. So, for example, the chapter about plastic is the story of my Polish granddad George and his sort of whole life story and like tumultuous time as kind of a refugee for a lot of the first half of his life, and then coming to the UK and establishing himself using plastic, the material, because it ended up intersecting with his life as well. So I tell lots of stories in the book about how materials have impacted my life and kind of been a part of it. And so my hope is that readers will read this book and look at materials in a different way and maybe identify the stories told by materials in their own lives as well.
I had tons of questions, but in the spirit of handmade, I wanted to get hands-on and actually make something. So Anna had a second challenge for me. You very kindly sent me some clay, which I found out just before filming dyes my hands red, which is exciting. Love that as a feature in an activity. What's your challenge now, the final challenge?
Right, the final challenge is, as I said, in this book, I started out as a scientist and I kind of discovered this whole world of craft and making. And I spent a long time talking to artists, which as a scientist is quite daunting. And so I've kind of gained an appreciation of kind of how artists view the world and a lot of the like conceptual side of materials. So I'm going to give you a conceptual sort of brief for the next few minutes with this modelling clay. I'm going to do it as well. As
Can I
two
select
scientists,
this task as discussed? Can this task be my my discussed part? No, go on.
I would like us, while we're chatting, to create a polymer clay model on the theme of courage.
Oh, okay. I actually quite like that. Okay, yeah, I can do courage, sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
But I want to know a bit more about, so kind of this book, like there's 10 materials, which it's, this is, so let me check that I know this. It's glass,
Yep.
then it's plastic, then steel, then brass, then sugar, wool, wood, paper, stone.
Yep, and clay.
Clay was the other one I was
Yeah.
trying to remember. Yes, clay's such a great chapter as well. I've got clay in my bloody hands and I'm like, I can't remember. Those are the materials that you end up writing about. Were there any that didn't make the cut, and also did you go in like, these are the materials I want to talk about and work with? Like, how was that whole process of picking the materials?
Yeah, so I wanted to represent kind of the full spectrum of materials. So, metals, plastics, ceramics and glass are kind of the four main staples in material science. But then there's also all these other kind of natural materials like wood and wool. So I really wanted to represent all of the different sort of families of materials that you can get. But there were some that I put in the in my proposal that I ended up changing. So I initially said that I was going to write about silver, and I changed that to brass because as I was writing the book, I kind of realised it was going to become an autobiography, but I didn't really know that at the start. And, I wanted to include a chapter about trumpet playing because that's a huge part of my identity. And so, of course, like brass is the obvious material that you would write about for that.
Cool. So at what point then did you realise that you wanted it to be autobiographical? Because I think that's like the thing about the book that is so fantastic. It surprised me because I've never read a popular science book that is autobiographical, and it made it so much better, for want of a better word. It was just better. It made it, you know, really relatable and just made you way more personable. But so it's such a key facet of the book is that it's autobiographical. So at what point did you decide, oh yeah, that's the vibe I'm going to go for?
It was definitely after I started writing it. So many popular science books, you know, they put the science front and centre because they're science books, right? So it makes sense to do that. But I think I wanted to represent not only the science, but kind of who scientists are and sort of what they're about, and show a bit more of a kind of a rounded person. Because, like, yes, I love material science, but it's not my everything, you know. I also really love kind of all the other stuff that I write about in the book, like music and sport and yeah, friends and family and camper vans and the outdoors and stuff. So all that being said, it was very daunting writing the autobiographical stuff. And at times very difficult because, you know, as the protagonist in the book, I'm sort of a character. And for any kind of fiction writing, characters have to be believable and they have to be flawed, right? It's not interesting for us as readers if our characters are perfect and they just do everything right first time.
So you had to make up some flaws about yourself to try and make yourself seem like a real person, is what you're saying?
No, I ended up, right, as I was sort of thinking about this, I wrote like 2 or 3 A4 pages of all of my own character flaws. So I went down this like huge...
Who needs therapy, eh? Save yourself £60 a week.
Yeah, just write a bloody book about yourself.
Oh my
So that was quite funny. But interesting as well.
Is funny the word, or do you mean like destructive?
Scarring.
Yeah. You kind of are the perfect person to write a book because you've had so much go on in your life. But yeah, were there any stories of your life that didn't make it in, like that were going to be in and then you had to take out? Because I don't want you to tell me things you purposely didn't put in. Those are private things.
Really good question. I don't think so. I think one of the materials that I was thinking about doing that I didn't was human hair, actually. And we've already talked a bit about that just because I think it's so interesting. And so one option for going for that route is all about you know, hair as identity and sort of especially for women and queer people as well. Like, hair is such an important part of how we represent ourselves to the world. And I'm really, really interested in how kind of materials intersect with that sort of thing, and identity. And so, but I mean, there is a chapter on sexuality which turned out to be paper, and sort of writing about how, you know, paper as a material has been so integral in the stories of, you know, not only queer people but other marginalised communities who have not really been able to kind of live fully as themselves in the world, but were able to live fully as themselves on paper through reading and writing.
Shout out to Anne Lister.
Shout out to Anne Lister and co-workers. Yeah. So I knew that I wanted there to be a queer chapter in there. It was either going to be human hair or paper, and I chose paper because it was a little bit more kind of universal. And human hair is quite similar to wool, and I'd already written wool, so
it is quite similar to wool, actually. Yeah. That wool chapter actually made me be like, oh my gosh, I want to knit. I just really want to knit, and the communities as well that build up around knitting, like that's something that I really, you hear it, like I have friends who knit and it's like they have their own secret language, like, and I don't know, I just hate being left out. So so who in an ideal world would you want to pick up this book and read it then? Is that a difficult question?
No, it's the question that's plagued me for, you know, the last 4 years. I think my target audience is people that would never normally read a science book. There is still a lot of science in there, but the main purpose of the book is to tell stories, and so the stories come front and centre. The materials chapters are never about the material, it's always about a story, and the material intersects with those stories. And so, yes, there's material science, yes, there's history, yes, there's, you know, design and craft and making. But actually the chapter's about my granddad, or it's about sexual harassment in the workplace, or channel swimming, or the trumpet. Does that make sense?
No, oh yeah, it makes complete sense. Yeah, definitely. And I 100% agree with that aim of Anna's, because I kind of don't really buy that many popular science books. And I think if you aren't someone that really gets into popular science books, but you are scientifically inclined and interested, then this is such a dreamy read, because the storytelling is fantastic and each chapter is like standalone, each material, which I really like too. FYI, Handmade is available in the UK and quote unquote the Commonwealth. So if you're from any of these places, you can get yourself a copy. Sorry US watchers, that doesn't actually include you. I know that might be a bit of a shock to the system. But if you want more from Anna, then she has a brilliant podcast also called Handmade, where she chats to people about their material of choice that they love and why they love it and things like that. So you can listen to that while you wait for the book to be released in the States. But yeah, it's a bloody lovely book that's kind of shifted how I look at the things around me, and it's also made me want to embrace my artistic side, as you can see from what I made. Okay, show me your thing first, and I'll...
Right, I've got a collection of objects, and because I'm in book promo mode, they're all around the book. So the theme was courage, and so I've made a tiny little jellyfish.
Oh, that's great.
Because it did take a lot of courage to get into the sea in the middle of the night and swim forever. I've made a tiny little ceramic mug.
Oh, that's great.
Because the clay chapter is all about, kind of my experiences of, I guess, depression during a difficult time in my life, and how throwing with clay was able to kind of help me process that. I've made...
What is this?
So bad.
You made a pancake, cool.
It's a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah, I thought, yeah, okay.
Talking about, the courage to be yourself, and living as yourself and who you are through paper. The thing that is stuck to the desk is a gear cog, which is all about...
really well, wow.
It ties into the chapter on steel, and how I sort of attempted to break a land speed record and was part of an engineering team, but didn't have the courage of sort of properly integrating with that team.
Oh, that's cute. My thing's on the theme of courage. So I kind of started being very basic, and I did like a little mountain and like someone at the top of the
Nice.
mountain. There's it on that camera, yeah. Because, like climbing mountains, and mountains, either internal mountains, emotional mountains, but also physical mountains. And
Absolutely.
Then I thought, I'm going to be a bit conceptual and not, just mould an object. So I've moulded like what courage like feels like, and it like... it like starts small and you've got to like build it up, and slowly it builds and then maybe it gets a bit squashed in the middle, but it's still there, and you've just got to make an effort. It looks disgusting. It looks like something that like a leech. I used to work in a secondary school, and we had all these inspirational quotes on the walls, and one of them was like, courage is something you practice, it's not something that like you just have. So this made me think of that.
That's beautiful. It sort of looks like an intestine, or maybe a tongue.
It does. It looks like something on a video game that would like jump out and like go at your throat a little bit. You've got the courage to like go into a dark room with this thing. That's how it works.
That's amazing. Are you going to bake that in the oven to keep it for prosperity?
I feel like I should have kept it, but by the time I decided that I wanted to, I'd already scrunched it up back into a big red blob. I may not have the confidence leech creature anymore, but the lessons I learned from it will stay with me. As you can see, I had so much fun chatting to Anna, and if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed finding out more about her too. And I hope you liked this different style of video from me, because I really liked making it. As mentioned, an extended version of our conversation is available on Nebula, including an anecdote about how I used to work with dead bodies at uni, but obviously his penis had been chopped directly in half, why a mini roll is the ideal channel swimming fodder, and a reveal of what else I chose for the discussed option in the treasure hunt, because I brought a few things to the table. You can sign up to Nebula for less than £13 a year via the wonderful Curiosity stream using the link that's in the description. Otherwise, like this video if you like it, share it if you share it, subscribe if you subscribe it, media my socials if you want to do that, and comment with any thoughts. What are some materials that have had an impact on your life? Otherwise, all that's left to say is thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and remember to keep practicing confidence. It's a really genuine message today. Go out there and be confident. And a big hearty thank you to my wonderful patrons, with a shout out to Angela, Dhruv, Brent, Adam, Terry and Justin. You ever been swimming and then like you've had to stop because you've realised you've got like a big bit of seaweed or like a bit of someone else's hair in your mouth? Like, does that happen much?
There wasn't much seaweed in the channel actually, but there were a lot of jellyfish. I did get stung a lot by jellyfish. But you know, I was expecting to find like loads of plastic waste in the sea. And you know, like I was joking to a couple of my channel swimming friends, and we were talking about playing the game of like jellyfish or condom, like as you're swimming along, like, oh, what's that? Is it a condom or a jellyfish? Actually, I don't think I saw any plastic waste at all in the channel, which is.
You were getting
like,
stung by condoms the whole time, Anna. Did you not realise it's that specific? Yeah, it's weird. They've like evolved. It's really frightening, actually.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, me neither. To be honest, I've got no idea. Wow, you're actually one of the people that made it to the end. That's pretty huge. Well, here I have a playlist of my favourite videos, a video specially chosen for you, and a cheeky little Patreon link, because why not? May as well try my chances. Bye!